Introducing first, accompanied by Exodus and Ice Cold, from the Australian Outback, Genesis!
Genesis, of course, fans, is a member of Team Exile. And behind her is her original partner, Exodus, and their new friend, finding solidarity with their group of being exiled throughout life, the very cold, Ice Cold. Boy, they know how to move those nunchucks.
Acclaimed martial artists, very accomplished in their martial arts resumes there, adding to the intimidation factor to their already impressive in-ring repertoire. Then, of course, Ice Cold. We've seen her story documented over the weeks in WoW. She comes from a very disciplined background, and she seems to fit in perfectly.
Now, with the change-up, with the shake-up in this team, in Genesis, who is the leader now? Are they sharing leadership roles? Do they see each other as equals? Or has Exodus taken over?
Well, what I want to know, AJ, is can you play with those nunchucks like that?
I mean, I definitely had a pair when I was a kid. I almost took an eye out. So no, not that skilled.
And her opponent from St. Paul, Minnesota, Kandi Krush!
David, AJ, I've got to ask you, what do you think about what we saw earlier with Kandi Krush and Princess Aussie? That beautiful moment they shared in the gym earlier. Princess Aussie and Kandi Krush bonding over their love of boxing, professional wrestling. And dare I say, I think we almost saw Princess Aussie maybe think about stepping away from professional wrestling.
Yes, Steven, we certainly did. Aussie and Kandi Krush have struck up a friendship. And look at Kandi Krush saying, let's go! That's her calling card.
Referee Ben Scheinberg has to gain control in this one with Exile on the outside there. Kandi Krush ready to go. Genesis not taking too kindly to the fact that these fans are not behind her. Genesis and Kandi Krush locking up in the center of the ring. Both of these two accomplished strikers in their own right. Genesis with that martial arts background. Kandi Krush from the world of boxing. Genesis has that wrist lock locked in, wrenching on Kandi Krush's arm. I've said it before, you can't punch somebody if your arm is useless. And Kandi Krush taking a page out of Genesis' book.
Nice twisting maneuver. Genesis going over, and look how quick she put the foot on the rope. Breaking it, Ben Scheinberg. Genesis is experienced. She had the training of Malaya Hasaka, a great veteran of professional wrestling. She and her partner Exodus learned the hard way. Scrubbing the floors, putting up the ring, tying the ropes, sweeping over all the sweat, doing the push-ups and the drills, everything the hard way to make it here in WoW, Women of Wrestling. Now they're on their own.
Kandi Krush with a drop toe hold, drops Genesis. She went for a strike. Genesis had it well scouted, flipping Kandi Krush. Kandi Krush back to her feet. Genesis ducking in the ropes. That's a tactic she definitely learned from Malaya Hosaka.
You got that right, Steven. Now, AJ, did you ever use that tactic, like hit an opponent and then move quickly out of the ring so they couldn't hit you back?
Never on purpose. Sometimes you take a powder, you need to take a break, you need to take a breath. You need a moment to yourself. It's not about, you know, being squirrely at all.
Okay.
So you're saying you need a brief intermission, AJ?
A brief intermission, a little me time, you know? There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. You know what? Self-care is very important.
It's like I was trying to say before, if Princess Aussie retired or stepped away from wrestling, I would be heartbroken. Do you think that Kandi Krush has gotten to talk to her, has gotten to make her reconsider?
I certainly hope so. I can't imagine what WoW would be like without Princess Aussie. You've said it before, AJ. Princess Aussie has become a mainstay, a staple of WoW Women of Wrestling. Without her, it would almost feel incomplete.
And maybe it's one of those things where you feel like you've plateaued.
Ice Cold grabbing the ankle. Ben Scheinberg going out there. More and Ice Cold, and Genesis takes advantage of it. And now a big leg drop on top of Kandi Krush.
Now into that modified triangle choke. She's got to watch it. She's got to watch it. That could be a choke.
She's got the knee in there, but Krush blocking it with the chin. So that leg lock is not as effective as it might be if she was able to center into the thighs.
Kick out by Kandi Krush. Wise maneuver by Genesis. She drives the air out of the throat with that triangle choke, and then she rolls her over for a pin. That's just using that energy, using that wind that she's got left, just making her excise all of that.
The crowd trying to get behind Kandi Krush. Kandi Krush having her face massaged, but it's not as nice as going to the spa.
Oh, and there's Exodus. Exodus jamming Kandi Krush into the top turnbuckle.
She's had a little facial and a little eye massage.
I don't see it that way, David. Genesis taking advantage of the interference from the outside by Exodus, but Kandi Krush.
There's that boxer coming out in her. Look who's got the ankles.
Look at that.
Both Exodus and Ice Cold took her ankles and swept her right off of her feet. Kandi Krush trying to fight back, but she's been thrown off.
Oh no, Genesis has Kandi Krush in the full Nelson. We've seen this before.
Over the third rope, leading down. She's looking at us, AJ. She's calling you out too.
I don't want any part of that. No, thank you.
Throwing Kandi Krush to the mat. Genesis using those long legs to her advantage, choking Kandi Krush in the ropes, then flinging her back into the center of the ring. That's where you win the matches.
That's a nice kick right to the shoulder blades.
Almost like a buzzsaw kick to the shoulder.
Kandi is used to everybody kind of ganging up on her, and sometimes that's a compliment, right? Sometimes that's because people know they can't beat you on your own, or they see that your light is shining bright.
That's how you take down the animal at the top of the food chain. It's almost a gang, a pack mentality, and Exile personifies that perfectly. Kandi Krush back in Genesis into the corner, fighting back in this one. Genesis had that straight jacket submission maneuver locked in, but Kandi Krush fought out of it.
They're going back and forth, AJ, back and forth.
Kandi Krush with the clothesline into the corner.
When it is a fair fight, it is hard to beat Kandi Krush.
These two, like I said in the beginning, very accomplished strikers in their own right, and we're seeing that here. Wonderful clothesline. Kandi Krush flying across the ring. Went for a spinning kick.
Big miss with that big flying boot, and there's the punch.
The discus elbow, dropping Genesis. Kandi Krush, what's she thinking here? She has her up.
Oh, that was an uppercut. She took her up and then dropped her right into the uppercut. Now Exodus on the outside, trying to get into the action, and the boot by Genesis. Genesis missing the boot.
Kandi Krush has Genesis up. What's she thinking here? Oh no! Oh no! There it is! She went for a sleeper into a schoolboy. 1, 2. Kick out by Kandi Krush.
This action is going fast and furious in here.
We can barely keep up with it here at the table. Kandi Krush blocking the strike.
Who do you think has the advantage, AJ?
Well, like Steven said, this is what they do. They're strikers, but Kandi, she is setting her up.
2. Kick out by Genesis. I thought that was it.
Kandi likes to finish with that Superman punch, so I think that she is trying to soften her up so she can get up to that top rope.
That's the name of the game. Soften your opponent, weaken your opponent. But Genesis is not staying down for the count. Kandi Krush, elbow.
Up she goes.
What's she thinking?